let me just share the position over here. You know what? I'll bring up revert instead. I'll just go ahead and bring up revert so that we can see the fee APRs on that. And, I started with $1,000 just to prove that it was delta neutral. I wanted to see how the CLP traded. I wanted to see if it traded like spot or not. And turns out it does. So I've got this CLP that I entered at first. I added this, earlier today. And over here on GMX, here's the short leg. So that short leg this is completely delta neutral. Okay. So those CLPs, they trade like spot, but take a look at the funding. So funding on GMX in XAUT in the gold market on GMX, funding here has been consistently positive and not just by a little bit. Funding here has been like, I haven't seen it less than plus 40%. So, plus 130%, plus 200% funding. That just means that when I go in here to claims, it's a small position, so I don't have like a much here to claim like over the last couple of days. But I'm tracking all of this in my flight simulator, in my DeFi flight sim. So, this tool I'm using to build out this portfolio. And my goal was to do a weighted average of 20 or 25% on 25K and be able to do that consistently. And so this position is the combination of the yield from funding over here on GMX, which right now is plus 132%, plus the yield from the CLP, which, right now this CLP is doing, let's call it 70%. And this one I just opened, 60%. Let me just change it to US dollars. There we go. So these two are hedged by that short position over on GMX. And, the hedge is perfect. It is perfectly delta neutral. So the CLP yield plus the funding rate yield, that together over the weekend, and since I entered it, it's been doing around 200%, 200% on gold, delta neutral. And so I started with $2,000 and I've scaled it up now to, you can take a look on the flight sim. I scaled it up earlier today, just a little bit, to 4,200 on the long side and 4,200 on the short side. So, hey, if this continues to work as expected, I will be very, very happy with that. So if we take a look at the metals markets, though, this has been a monster move. What goes up must come down. Nothing is just going to continue running parabolically indefinitely, right? So this move out of gold, now that I'm delta neutral, the only thing that I really have to worry about is the funding rate on GMX going negative, but importantly, not just going negative, it must be negative by more than what the CLP is paying. So if the funding rate were to be negative 200%, let's say, on GMX for an extended period of time, and I'm not earning 200% in the CLPs, then that would be a problem. I would have to close that position. But that has not been the case. So this big move out of gold, you see, if we take a look at silver, I don't even know what to make of this. Like if I were trading silver here, I would be trading it from the short side. I would be trading it down to 50, 54. I just can't enter a position in silver here. It's been too volatile. The direction, in my opinion, is too uncertain. And it could absolutely just continue ripping higher. But I think that we've seen this market break. And now that it's below support, it looks as though it could be headed down to 55, something like that.
David, would you
Yeah,
consider this a historical move? They say this kind of move
very.
in silver and gold is it doesn't happen very often.
I think it's happened two other times, 2011 and 1980. And so the narrative this time is that, oh, well, AI is going to eat all the silver, don't you know? And all the robots and the electric cars and the data centers, and there isn't enough. And, I just, whenever someone says this time is different, and they say, well, this parabolic move, like if you zoom out to a weekly, this parabolic move, it's just going to continue running and it's going to hold on to all the gains. I have never in my life seen a parabolic move that didn't eventually correct at least somewhat. And it seems as though the top is in for silver,
Yeah,
121.
they say the word on the street, silver has put its high for the next decade.
I think so. I tend to agree with that. And I think it probably, corrects all the way back down to 50, 55, something like that. Makes sense. I can't get short because I just can't. There's something about this market right here that it's just too volatile. If I were to play it, I would play it very small. So, here's something to think about. As these assets become more volatile, your position size should shrink, not expand. So the more volatile the market becomes, the smaller the trade. And I would just watch this one from the sidelines. And maybe if it gets down to 50 or below 50, think about buying some physical silver, but not right now, not at 80 bucks. I think that it's got more room to the downside. And the same thing with gold. I mean, this is a big topping tail. That's what this is. And this is a weekly, so that is a topping tail, that candlestick pattern. And just because gold has held this level of trendline support, this trendline support is very steep. So I don't think that this actually holds for much longer. So yeah, I think gold probably has support at 4,400. Now this is a weekly. If I remove the 200 week and instead we throw down the 100 week, let's see what we can see here on this 100 week moving average if it wants to open up for me. And it looks like it doesn't. That's okay. Let me see right there. 50 won't open the 50 either. That's okay, no problem. I think that the 100 week comes in around 4,400 also. So wouldn't be surprised to see gold move a little bit lower here. Now, the other metals might present interesting short opportunities if gold and silver continue correcting. Here's copper, and you can trade this from your DeFi wallet on Ostium. And I was waiting to get long on a breakout above resistance, but this breakout, this is a false breakout. It only lasted for, a couple of hours, if that. So big false breakout. And, copper could absolutely correct down to 430, and it could do so in a week. We've seen copper make sharp moves like this. So if gold and silver continue their moves lower, wouldn't surprise me to see copper correct down to 430 or something like that.